Really, I'm saying to myself, no, that can't be true. He must be talking about his dad or something.
Right.
And, you know, initially I just was in so much shock, man. It's like, it's hard to believe a guy like this who we watched battle so much on the court, who I felt like was an immortal. You know, it's like, it's just hard to fathom. So this has been a really difficult thing to process over the last few days, to be honest with you, Snowman. And yeah, you know, you were alluding to a little bit of a relationship that I had with Kobe, and I did. You know, this is a guy that touched so many people in so many different ways, and I don't want to get too into detail because I don't want to share someone else's story.
Right.
Too, but my cousin and Kobe worked together on a lot of projects, and you know, I had the opportunity to be with him one time when they were working in their creative place, as Kobe liked to call it. And this guy is just, nobody has any idea what was to come and how special he truly was as a person and how much he was giving back now, Snowman. It's remarkable. It truly is.
It is, because he gave a lot back, not just to his community and to his family and through his family, but as I'm beginning to find out, he gave a lot back to women's basketball as well.
Yeah, man, this guy, you know, we think about him as an ambassador for the NBA, but you're right. He was an ambassador for basketball, man, and he truly loved the game. I think that you know, the things that you got to take away from this man are the work ethic that was unlike anybody else. And, you know, it's like, I never really thought about it until obviously the other day. You know, this guy wanted to be greater than Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
And he emulated this guy. He mimicked this guy. We kind of, you know, went at him for a long time because we were like, oh, he wanted to be like Mike so much. But at the end of the day, man, what's wrong with wanting to be like Mike? You know, I mean, and this guy's work ethic was, like I said, unlike anybody we've ever seen. And it didn't end on the basketball court. So,
no,
man, like, that's what people got to understand. That work ethic was in everything that this guy did. And I think that makes Bryant so special, is that from the time that this guy got up until the time that he went to sleep, he was working, he was thinking, and he was being creative, and he was trying to give back as much as possible, man. It's unbelievable. It really is.
Andy Dorff of Dorff on Sports joining me as we pay respect and homage to Kobe Bryant. And one of my favorite Kobe games, or two of my favorite Kobe games that I've mentioned on this show, 2004 Game 2 NBA World Championship Series. He hit a game-tying three in a game that the Lakers eventually won in overtime. But a year earlier, he helped wipe out a 27-point deficit against the Dallas Mavericks, and he hit the game-winning shot, and the Lakers won that game 105-103. That was December 6th of 2002. Do you have any favorite Kobe games that you remember?
Look, man, you mentioned a couple. I mean, obviously the last game that he played was extremely special because when you think about a guy scoring 60 points and he's walking out the door, and I know you can look at some of the numbers and say, well, he took 21 three-pointers, he made 6 of them, and this and that and the other. And I get it, man. I get it. This guy was one of those volume shooters, though. And,
yes.
And quite frankly, I think that was one of those nights that, like, he was probably wanting to pass the ball more than he was passing it, Snowman, that particular night. And his teammates are sitting there encouraging him, like, dude, this is your last night. Go out the way that you came in, which is putting up shots and being the guy that has the ball in his hands at the last moment of a game. And, you know, the guy was just special, and he had the ability to yell at his teammate and go crazy on him, but yet the next day he knew that he had to rely on that guy to maybe make a shot, and that's where the similarity to me of him and Michael come into play, because these guys demanded excellence from everybody around them, and that's something that I'll never forget about Kobe, man.
You mentioned the next thing that I was going to bring up, his similarities with MJ, because MJ demanded excellence from his teammates, and no bigger point was that true with Michael for me than 1997 when Steve Kerr missed a potential game-winning shot in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. 2 games later, they have the ball last 28 seconds of the game, and MJ said nothing in the huddle the entire time, but he looked over at Steve Kerr, and MJ only said part of his sentence. He said, if Stockton comes off of me, and then Steve Kerr looked him right in the eye and said, I'll be ready to knock down that shot. There's the biggest similarity for me on the court between Kobe and MJ.
Yeah, I mean, again, man, remarkable, the work ethic, everything that he did obviously was to get himself to be able to reach great levels that many people try but never obviously are able to achieve. And, this guy achieved greatness, many times, and 5 times a champion. I think the way that he was mentoring people now, I think it's really special. He had a relationship with Giannis as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that Giannis took down all of his social media.
Yeah.
Just was really, really taken down by this whole thing. I think that to me is where, he took the torch from Michael and maybe expanded it a little bit, Snowman.
Yeah.
And made this even more of a global game. And he was able to touch people, all over the world in so many different sports. I mean, you see Djokovic, you see him getting emotional after a victory at the Australian Open, and these guys had a relationship of 10 years, man. And I don't think people knew the passion that Kobe had for tennis and his love for tennis that he had. I mean, it's just, this guy was so all over the place, and he touched so many people in different ways. It's mind-boggling, man. When you put it all together, this guy was really special. He really was. And it's like, I never really thought about how special Michael is either, and
mm-hmm.
you think about it when these guys are done, and in this regard, it's almost like Kobe was taken away from us.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so much that we have yet to have discovered about this guy, and we're not going to be able to do it. And there's a certain chosen few people that know there's so much more to this guy, and the creative levels. It's mind-boggling, Snowman. It truly is. This guy was just getting started, man. Just getting started.
He was indeed just getting started, and I agree with your point that he was taken away from us far too soon before we could really see what he was about off the floor. Andy Dorff of Dorff on Sports joining me to offer his thoughts on, and I can't believe I'm still saying this, the late Kobe Bryant, whose life was taken away in a helicopter crash. Andy, thanks for the time. I hope to have you on later this week to talk some Super Bowl.
Absolutely, my friend. And yeah, I mean, thinking of that, just a quick note, I think that Kobe would want all of us to continue with our lives, make the most of them, and try to be greater every single day, man. I think that's, to me, a real strong message that I've taken away from Kobe, and it's live every day to the fullest, man, because we never know when our number is going to be called, Snowman. So have fun, enjoy what you do, and go out and try to be better every single day, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Learned that from him, and I'm learning that from my wife every single day. Thanks a lot, partner. Appreciate the time.
Have a great day, my friend. We'll talk at you soon. And for you, Let's go 49ers, baby.
Absolutely. Thanks, my friend. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime, Snowman.
We're going to talk some Super Bowl a little later in the show. Mike Debate will join me for that discussion, but throughout the course of the week, different folks will come in to offer their thoughts on one Kobe Bryant, their impact on their lives, impact on what they do throughout the course of their days. And you just heard something very, very important. Live every day to the fullest, because you never know when the ride's going to be over. This ride's just beginning here on the Wednesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Pause for a break, and when y'all come back, I had Renee Washington on the show yesterday to talk Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. You'll hear that, and you'll hear Mike Debate as we kick off our coverage and get you ready for Super Bowl 54. More in a flash. Welcome back to the program, folks. I hope you're enjoying the ride as we're enjoying bringing it to you. Now, my next guest that I have for you guys is very celebrated, to say the least. To go through everything that she has accomplished would take a little while, so I'm just going to go through the highlights. They start here. A former All-American soccer player at LaSalle University, so she's a LaSalle Explorer. She is currently the host of Beyond the Headlines, and I absolutely love that series. She is an analyst and a reporter for ESPN Plus, covering men's and women's sports in the Ivy League, and she also covers the Washington Mystics and the Washington Wizards. So to say this young lady is busy would be a horrible understatement. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Miss Renee Washington. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for that tremendous introduction. Wow, I appreciate that. I am great.
Not a problem. So, a LaSalle Explorer, are you?
Yes, I am. And I'm fortunate. Go ahead.
What was it like playing soccer at LaSalle?
Well, I mean, it was everything that I needed at that time. You know, it was 4 years of learning how to be a part of a team that was changing the dynamic of the program, making history. We won the A-10 tournament. We won the A-10 out of my 4 years, a few years, we made the NCAA tournament for the first time and then went back 2 more times. I mean, it was everything I really needed to help me prepare for what was next. And I looked at that moment at my soccer career, and thought that was the direction I was moving in. You know, I was part of a great team. I had team success, individual success. I was part of a small school, which I actually enjoyed and preferred at the time because I knew my teachers. I knew a lot of my classmates and the students. And as I walked around campus, I knew a lot of people. And so I loved it. You know, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of ups and downs. I wouldn't say every day was perfect, but looking back on it, you know, it prepared me perfectly for where I am today and helped me really grow as more than just a soccer player and more than just an athlete, to be the person that I really am today. And that hustle you talk about started, well, before LaSalle, but I fine-tuned it at LaSalle as I was actually also a 2-sport athlete. I ran track. I had a number of internships. I had a double minor. I really was hustling and developing independence within those 4 years, along with the success and things that I had on the soccer field. So it was everything.
And now you have ESPN Plus under your belt, the Washington Mystics, the Washington Wizards, covering them for Fox Sports. You're also a co-host with DJ Bugsy with a show called I Do It for Hip Hop. Tell me about that show.
Yeah, so that was me looking to expand. And I know that a lot of people are kind of like, why? You already do so many things, because I expanded with that role and also actually became an in-arena host with LaSalle around the same time. So I added 2 more things to my already busy schedule. But it's this opportunity for me to be able to get into conversations I don't normally have on air. You know, I do a lot of sports talk. I know with my show, I look to talk about sports, music, news, you know, with the different segments, but I'm able to get into deeper conversations about culture, hip hop, music, entertainment. You know, of course, we'll still talk about sports and politics and things like that, but it's a great show because DJ Bunky's an awesome co-host and we just have real conversations. You know, it's not scripted. It's one live shot. That's it. And we're just sitting down talking about things that we're seeing or what's going on around the world or what's going on in our own lives. And it's a lot of fun because it's real. It's just a real conversation between us, our guests, you know, just talking about things that are applying to our lives every day.
That is wonderful. And now one of the pièces de résistance for me, Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. I am an absolute fan of that show. I know you just dropped your Super Bowl special. You got to tell me how this one got started.
This is a show it's my baby. You know, I actually had a show that I did on a local TV station a couple years back that progressed into my previous podcast. So I was hosting a show called The Sports Break. It became The Sports Wrap. And then out of that was born Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. And for me, I was trying to bring something different. And I wanted to show that, yes, we still talk about the trending topics. So as you mentioned, like this week's episode is a Super Bowl edition. We can't go without talking about the Super Bowl. But also within that, as the title might allude to, we're going beyond the headlines. We're getting deeper. So even within those topics and those trending news, we're getting a farther into what you are just reading in every other outlet. At least I try to. And then also bringing you other stories. So my Positive Vibes Only segment, the artists that are closing out the show each week, just sharing everybody's stories that I possibly can. As many stories as I possibly can. Whether it's an athlete or coach, I had the privilege of having a former NFL player do an interview with me that's going to air in a later episode, talking about not only his career as an NFL player, but life after and what he's been dealing with his health conditions and things. So I'm trying to give people more than just what you read every day or see every day on your latest sports app and, you know, on Twitter and everything, but real stories about people that have either played at the highest level, coached at the highest level, maybe are a reporter, maybe had nothing to do with sports in my Positive Vibes Only segment. I talked to doctors, and I have a former inmate that's going to be coming on my show talking about her path from being a former inmate to now a motivational speaker doing TED Talk. You know, I just try to give something that I hope will inspire, impact, influence someone positively that's listening, along with giving people something they can, you know, agree with, disagree with, find themselves like, what? You know, I'm an Eagles fan, I'm a LeBron fan, so I get into all that too. So I just try to fill in every possible emotion. And I possibly can. So it's everything, I guess.
What was it like seeing your Eagles win the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
Oh my goodness. That is a day I will never forget, and I still have the videos and things I took from that day just going absolutely insane because I remember watching with my family. I was nervous. I wasn't sure we were actually going to win. You know, playing the Patriots is no easy task ever, especially in the Super Bowl.
No, it's not.
And then once we won, since my parents' house is in Jersey, I drove out to Philly and was a part of that too. So then I was, you know, my sister and I, we went out in Philly when we were running the streets of Philly with everyone else, cheering, going crazy, and oh my goodness, that is the highs and lows of that game, and I will never forget the Philly special when Tom Brady dropped that pass and they attempted to, oh my goodness, that's why even if they don't ever win another Super Bowl,
you got good. That one.
We beat the Patriots. I was able to watch it happen. It just doesn't get any better than everything